Warning, Ferb is an untrained professional. Do not attempt anything you see on this page.
Alright boys, so I know I haven't uploaded in so long. You ever come across a car deal that almost seems too good to be true? That was me with this 2016 Ford Fusion. Normally when I pick up a car, I'm ready for headaches, late nights in the garage, mystery check engine light, and parts that almost never seem to fit. But this car was different. What started as a risky $2,000 gamble turned into the easiest, smoothest, most profitable flip I've ever done. And the crazy part, it all came down to fixing a $30 part.
Okay, let's think about it like this. This is you. You head to the casino, you take $30 off from your wallet, you put them in a slot machine, and boom, you win $2,000. So this is exactly what happened here, except the casino is actually Facebook, and the slots are the cars you buy. So when I arrived at the seller's house, the first thing I always do is go over the big four: oil, coolant, brake fluid, and power steering fluid. Now it's important to pay attention here because one of these is going to be the reason why I actually got a good deal on this car. To start off, we're going to start very basic. The oil. Oil creates a thin film between two moving metal parts, which include the pistons, bearings, cams, crankshafts, etc. Without it, friction skyrockets, parts grind, and you get catastrophic wear. Now, what we're looking for is obviously that nice golden brown color, but you might notice that sometimes it looks dark or even black. Now, that's not an immediate red flag, only because that's kind of the oil's job. It's supposed to get dark. Why? Well, oil not only lubricates the engine, it also keeps it clean. Not to mention the amount of cycles it goes through from being hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Now, what you really need to watch out for is for the oil to be black and gritty, or if it smells like fuel, or even if it looks milky like this. These are all signs of bigger problems, so it's important to stay alert if you see any of these. Now, fortunately for this Ford Fusion, the oil did not have a smell and it looked clean with a nice golden brown color. So the oil checks out. Moving on to the brake fluid. So the reason why I check the brake fluid is because I want to make sure the brake lines aren't leaking. If the brake fluid is below the max line, that can only mean that there's been a leak in one of the lines, which can be extremely dangerous. Most of the time what sellers do to try and hide the leak is fill the reservoir back up, but sometimes you'll notice that they'll fill it up past the max line. When that happens, always ask the seller if there's been work done to the brakes, because even if the shop accidentally fills it past the max point, in the end, your best bet will be to inspect the lines yourself and make sure the lines don't look wet, which can indicate leak. Brake fluid looks good. Next, we're moving on to the power steering. Similar to the brake fluid, you want to make sure it's not completely empty. The main reason why we're checking all this is because any abnormality basically gives us a reason to negotiate. The power steering looked perfect, but the coolant was a whole different story. The coolant was actually below the minimum part. When I confronted the seller, they told me there was a coolant leak near the water pump, but soon got it replaced. Now, I inspected the car for leaks, but was unable to find any, so I assumed the seller was telling the truth. Now, this could also mean that there's a leak inside the engine due to a blown head gasket, which everyone knows is an expensive fix. A trick you can do to see if there's a blown head gasket is start the car and inspect the exhaust. If you see a lot of white smoke coming from the exhaust, that almost definitely means it has a blown head gasket. However, I saw no white smoke whatsoever. Now, at this point, I'm ready to negotiate with the seller regarding this issue, but before throwing numbers at the seller, I decided to inspect the rest of the car. It's important to take your time when inspecting the rest of the car. Check the tires, windows, AC, and make sure you communicate with the seller about every detail that seems suspicious. The car was actually in very good condition besides the scratch I found on the passenger side. Now, I took it out for a test drive, and the first thing I noticed was that dash. It had the VSC light, traction control light, and the ABS light. This was good news to me since that will give me another reason to negotiate the price. Now, when driving it, it actually drove extremely smooth. I couldn't hear any weird noises, the engine was strong, and the brakes were very firm. The seller told me all the brakes and rotors had been replaced, and the back two tires had also been replaced. Now, this was really good news for me since it indicated that the seller had been taking good care of the car. So when we got back, we started negotiating, and the main topic of of concern was the coolant being low. I told the seller there was a possibility there was another leak that the shop was unable to see, or it could perhaps have a blown head gasket, which is also the reason why the coolant was low. I also mentioned the lights on the dash along with the scratch I saw and gave the seller the offer of $1,500. Now keep in mind the seller was originally listing this car for $3,000, which was doubled what I offered. The seller said I'll give it to you for $2,000. Then I remember how much this car could be worth all fixed up, which could go all the way up to $5K. I realized that if the coolant issue wasn't a head gasket, I could actually have a decent flip here. I took the risk and I agreed at $2,000. I definitely could have gone lower, but I didn't. Next thing you know, the car was now in my house and it was time to fix it.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we have 3 major problems we need to fix. One is the coolant issue. The next one is the lights on the dash. The last one is the big scratch on the passenger side, and that's pretty much it. I will start with the main one, which is that coolant issue. The first thing I did was fill the reservoir up to its max capacity and let the car sit there for about a day. This way I'll be able to see if anything is leaking on the ground and work my way up, since gravity makes liquids go down. That way if I see a puddle of coolant on the ground, I can easily see what's above and track the liquid trail from its original spot. The next day I didn't notice any puddles on the ground, so I took it out for a test drive and kept checking the coolant levels. Now the coolant level did not go down despite several days of driving, so what that led me to believe is that the shop didn't fully bleed the coolant system and air bubbles inside the engine later escaped, causing the coolant to go down. So I bled the system again just to make sure, and sure enough the coolant level did not drop. Next was the lights on the dash. I hooked up an OBD scanner and came back with these codes. I asked ChatGPT what they meant, and it said the most common suspect between all the codes on the scanner was the front driver's side speed sensor. I ordered one on RockAuto for about $30 after shipping and began installing it. Replacing the sensor was very easy, just a couple of clips and a bolt, and just like that we got the old sensor out. As you can see, this sensor has seen better days, so then I put the new one back in and went for a test drive. Now, immediately after starting it, I noticed the lights were gone, which was a very good sign already. I drove it around just to make sure the lights did not come back on, and just like that, the issue was fixed. Moving on to the final problem, I noticed the scratch wasn't that big of a deal. It honestly could have happened to anyone, and came to the conclusion that if someone did not buy the car, it wouldn't be because of the scratch. So what did I do? I decided to list the car even with the scratch and see what would happen. Now, before listing it, obviously I give it a good clean, and I always buy this car scent from AutoZone just to make sure the car smells brand new. You guys have seen me use this on my other video. I posted the car, and I won't lie, it took a little while for this car to sell. After 2 weeks of low ballers and tire kickers, I finally found the person who seemed really interested.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm sorry, what?
Just turn on the engine once.
Oh yeah.
I just want to hear
I'll open up the hood.
Yeah.
He came down to test out the car, he loved it, and that's what my final price was. I originally had it up for sale at $5,000, so I said 4.5. He said he would take it home for 4K, which I was about to decline. But then I remember I did almost no work on this car. It took me less than 30 minutes to replace the sensor and another 30 minutes to clean it, and that was it. I told the seller $4,100. He agreed, shook my hand, and handed over the cash. $4,100, over $2,000 in profit for only an hour of work. This was hands down the easiest flip I've ever done. If we run the numbers, that comes out to $2,070 an hour, and I know I still had to drive the car, but I don't really consider that work. Now, I do have another car that I'm about to upload, which did require more work and mechanical knowledge, but don't worry, I made sure to explain everything in full detail, sharing the numbers and mistakes so you can learn from them. Subscribe if you want to see more flips, real numbers, real problems, and real profit. Thank you guys for watching.
369